Um, Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Today, a nice day in California. Warm, beautiful. The only thing I put, this is in Spanish. I think the date is correct, 29th of January. And I'm going to speak about Iraq. And I'm going to talk about how Iraq was formed, how it became a country, and then I would start early and then stop by 1931. And, Iraq was a kingdom, and there was one king, two kings, three kings. And then they become a republic. So this is the whole story. I'll tell you the story about it. The first king from 21 to 33, second king 33 to 39, and the third king 39 to 58. This lecture will be today only on the first king, and then I can come next time and next time and next time and tell you more true stories. Okay, so let me explain to you this. There was called the Ottoman Empire, Turkey. Ottoman Empire, this was the entire Ottoman Empire. So different countries all together. And Iraq was composed of three pieces, part of the Ottoman Empire: the north, the middle, and the south. Basra, Baghdad, and Mosul. And we call it three provinces, 1, 2, 3 provinces. Later on, this became a one country. The south, there is city of Basra, is a port here. The middle is Baghdad, the capital, and Mosul is the north. These are three major cities. Mosul is, there is oil here, a lot of oil, and in Basra, a lot of oil. So it's a rich country because they have a lot of oil. There is two rivers. One is called the Tigris and the Euphrates. This is the Euphrates, and this is the Tigris. They meet here, and they become one river. They meet here at this position in Basra, and they call it Shatt al-Arab Waterway, and then it goes to the Gulf here. So that's the initial, just give you an idea. And then there is the three provinces, the north, the middle, and the south. During the Ottoman Empire, they opened what we call the postal agencies. So the Ottoman stamps were used, and they allowed Indian stamps to be used in Iraq. So they have a competition. And here an example of Indian stamp was used in 1868 in the south, in Basra. And this is one of the earliest recorded date, 26 November 1868. So the first post offices were opened in around that time, where before the 1868, we have only the Ottoman stamps were used. And Ottoman stamps used before that. This is another example. So that continued until 1914. We have the Turkish stamps and the Indian stamps used. This is an example of a letter from Basra to the US, and then it have their corrected rate plus registration. Then in 1914, where World War I started, the war started in 1914. And what happens, the British wanted to occupy Iraq because they know it's an important place. Before they occupy Iraq, this is an example I wanted to show of the Turkish stamps. In 1889, in addition to the Indian stamps, there is Turkish stamps. Certain time, they ran out of stamps, so they used to cut the stamp into two pieces. It used to be 2 piastre, and then the rate was 1 piastre. So they cut the stamp into half, and then they used the stamp. And then there is this negative seal, and it gives you the city. And here the city is Baghdad. And then this is the person sent to, which is the city of Diwaniyah. So here is an example of a Turkish stamps, and I showed you an Indian stamps. The British came from here, And some people call it the Persian Gulf, some people call it the Arabian Gulf. Depends which map you look at. The British wanted to occupy the country, and then they started from Basra. They advanced to a place called Kut, and there was a big battle here. And then they occupied Baghdad, and then they went to Mosul. Between here and here, it took them about 4 or 5 years to reach from Basra to Mosul. So it's quite a long battle. So the British came in 1914 to capture Basra. This is an example of the troops landing. And there was this ship came, it's called the Spiegel. And this is the ship which brought the British troops. And the British troops, they used Indian covers. And what they have on it, it's called IEF, which is the India Expeditionary Forces. These are the forces from the Indian troops that they brought with them. They call them Gurga, and the Gurga are the Indian troops. So the British officers were generals, and most of these soldiers were from India brought. I was lucky in the certain time, and this is the earliest recorded, 20th November, 1914. These are the earliest recorded postcard and a letter that I did find. It is recorded in books. And when they come to Basra, they try to do field post offices. And the field post offices, they number them. So this is number 27. In reality, they opened initially 5 field post offices, 26, 27, 308, 309, 314. If you notice, the number doesn't go 1, 2, 3, 4, because they did not want the Turkish enemy to know where is their locations, because if they say this is Basra and the next city 28, they would know that. So that's why they used larger numbers and small numbers. Then they went to Kut, and I showed you that in the map. If you see, they advanced with the troop, they went to Kut, and there is a big siege happened in this Kut. And during that siege in Kut, this is the general, the Turkish general, which was called Anwar Pasha. And then there was the British general. And what they did, the Turks, they did a siege. They have all the 8,000 British Indian garrison in the town of Kut, and they couldn't have food. They couldn't survive. They all dying because there is no line of communication between the British and all these troops. British at the time offered £2 million. I counted that about 122 million pounds in 2023. And the idea was if the Ottoman will remove the siege and they will exchange the troops and they will stop the war. The general commander rejected that. They said, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to continue. We are winning. The British, they bring another new general called General Maud, and he changed his strategy, and he managed to open the siege, and then he advanced to occupy Baghdad. So the sieges occurred in between December 15 to April 16, and then when he came in 1916, he managed to open the siege and then advance and occupy Baghdad 1917 in March 11, the capital. An example of mail, which are rare. I mean, this is a wrapper, which is the only known wrapper, newsletter wrapper, came from England. And then you can see there is a message undelivered because of the capitulation of Kut. Undelivered, okay, because of capitulation of the Kut, because they cannot. There is a couple of letters with those cancels and are extremely rare. This is only recorded copy of the wrapper. It's called the Sapphire. sapphire wrapper, and also known in the books. There were some, so what they did, they used the Indian stamps with India Expeditionary Forces in addition to the field post offices at the time. And this is an example of somebody brought Queen Victoria. I mean, Queen Victoria in 1914 was not alive, and it's a known, it's called Sumaka cover. The guy made this cover and he put these two stamps and he mailed it to him, or somebody mailed it to him. There is few of those, 5, 6 covers known with the Queen Victoria and King George here. The troops, as I said, went to Baghdad. This is the picture. They enter Baghdad on March 11. There is 4 gates in Baghdad, and there is a troop coming. I did go to the British Library, and I managed to find this information, this letter on the right, and then the letter on the right here. It came from Buckingham Palace. So they went March 11, 3rd of April. This letter from the record says, with reference to the attached telegram from the offices Force D at Baghdad, I write to say that the king hopes you will secure for him a set of the proposed issue of stamps. When they entered Baghdad, they wanted to do some stamps. And as you know, the king likes corner sets of 4 of each variety. Perhaps you could send a telegram to ensure the set being kept for His Majesty. Now, we'll talk about these stamps. And when they entered Baghdad, they looked at different post offices and they tried to find any Turkish stamps available. And they find very limited quantities of stamps because the Turks, they took the stamps and they escaped. In the post office, they could find very limited. Then they find in the custom house a guy who stole stamps from the post office, and they caught the guy, and they got some more quantities. They took these stamps and they overprint them Baghdad in British occupation. These are composed of 25 sets, and they are the rarest stamps of Iraq. And they were issued in 1917 and September 1st, and they were used for 17 days. And I do have an 8-frame exhibit on those. It's very difficult. Now, this sheet, there is 2 of them were made where they have all the 25 stamps. This one, the second one, was sold in Karamfila about 5 years ago, and George Holscher bought that sheet. He took a scissor and he cut it into 25 stamps, and he tried to sell those individual stamps to his client where, people interested. Some of these are very rarely non-used. So that was, unfortunately, the second sheet was destroyed. The only sheet available left, the only known, I guess it is the sheet you see here. So that's the one was sold. So the king wanted blocks of 4 of those, and that's what was his instruction. Now, there were 23 complete sets of those distributed to 13 individuals. King Farouk got some, King George got some, Sir Percy Cox got some, and there is some dignitary, they got some of those. So these are the actual 25 stamps. Usage, there is total of these 125 stamps, there is about 130 covers known of all the stamps. So the quite rare, used for 17 days. In addition, they find some stamps which are, there is only 8 of them or 7 of them. So this stamp with the star, there is only 7 of them they find, or 8. And what they did, they have 1 block sent to the king from those stamps. And then Sir Percy Cox kept a block for himself. The block of Sir Percy Cox was sold later on to the Marquis of Bute. Then Marquis of Bute died in 1958. They sold these blocks in Harmer of London, and they bought the block and they broke it into 4 sets. And these are one complete set of the 4, and took me many years to make a set. Very difficult to do those. And these are the stamps that were issued, never used. Sir Percy Cox kept a block, and the king have a block in his collection. They are different from the 25 stamps. So these are not available. So this stamp, for example, is in blue. And if you look at the actual issued one, this is in green. So there is no blue stamps issued. And from these, there is only 7 or 8 copies known. Continue. As an example of usage, most of these were by captains sent to their family or to themselves. This is the first day of issue, 1st of September. And this is the second day of issue, 2nd of September. And this was, it's a beautiful cover, you know, it's the first and the second. And quite difficult to find those. 11 different Allen covers are recorded. So Captain Allen have 11 covers sent to him, and Gibson have 8 covers sent to him. So I counted how many covers here. By luck, I managed to find the largest multiple here, block of 10. And when these were issued, according to the record, they were overprinted Baghdad in British occupation and the value. So it's 4 operation. Interesting. I mean, I put a ruler, try to measure the distances. They are very equal. So somebody put a ruler here, and look at that. It's amazing if it's done in 4 different operations on every stamp. Not many multiples known. So this is one of the multiples I try to analyze, and you can see the distance is equal. There is a theory, maybe they have the occupation done in 4 pieces or in British, but that's speculation. I mean, according to the record, which is Percy Cox says, no, it's done in 4 different operations. General Maude, the guy who went to Baghdad and removed, unfortunately, in November, he drank milk, he got a cholera, and he was buried in Baghdad. He died on 18th of November, 1917. The last day of issue between 1st of September and 17th of September, this is the last day of issue of these stamps. And General Maude ordered 4 sets to be made on the last day of issue. And it's very difficult to have a complete set of all the stamps. And this one signed by, this is the collection came from Joe Saatchi, and they are an advertising company in London, Saatchi and Saatchi, and he was a stamp collector. This is the rarest of all to find it used, and it was in the Saatchi collection. It is in my collection. The same stamp, you know, there is 2 on cover. This is 1 copy I have on cover. There is another one on cover in London. So there is 2 covers known of the stamp. Now there is some of them in combination with Indian Expeditionary Forces, and you can see them. There is some varieties, and major varieties, Baghdad missing. Maybe there's about 6 copies known of those. This one, occupation missing. I bought this in Gardner in a collection, and you know, it's different stamps, and discovered this. So this is unrecorded. Unfortunately, the stamp is damaged, but that's the only stamp known with the occupation missing. This the one with the word matbu'a here is means printed matter. This is in Arabic or Turkish, and the idea was they use that word. The Turks they allowed these stamps to be used by foreign offices or companies at a 25% discount. So it's a company working in Istanbul or in Iraq. They pay 75% the value of the stamp, and then they can use the Turkish stamp, so they save some money. So there was some competition on the usage of the stamps. This is the only pair known of this is the rarest stamp. There was a second pair, which was broken into two singles, and I managed to find the two singles and put them together also. These belong to Sir Percy Cox, and the king have a block of those. Private hand, there is one pair, and the other pair, which was broken. There is a story of a lot of forgeries here. You can see a lot of forgeries here and here. All these forgeries, many forgeries, because these stamps are very rare, and people wanted to make profit. So they made those forgeries. SZ9 is in Palestine or Lebanon that canceled by the army post offices. There at the time was Palestine, I believe. And here, it's called the 8-Anna matchbox. And what is the story? Because they were limited supplies, so the individuals, they go to the post office, the generals, they give them a matchbox and they put inside them 8-Anna worth of stamps. So this is half, 1.5, 2, 3, 3.5, 4, 6, 8. And if you're lucky, whatever you get from these 25 stamps worth of 25 stamps, you got that. And this, there is two covers known. This soldier took the matchbox, opened it, put it in, send it, and it went through the mail to his family in England. It's called the 8-Anna matchbox story. Okay, so in 17 of September 1917, they ran out of stamps of these. So they were using the IEF stamps, and then they wanted to do some additional stamps. You know, the Turkish stamps were printed by Bradbury and Wilkinson, so they do have the actual die. And what happens, they have these dies there, and then the original dies there. So the British government asked Bradbury and Wilkinson to break the boxes, take these dies, and print the same Turkish stamps that they were printing for the Ottoman Empire, except print the same sheet, but put over them the word Iraq and British occupation. So what happened? They printed exactly the same Turkish stamps, and then they would put write on them Iraq and British occupation. So here, these are the original Turkish stamps. It was used during the Ottoman Empire, except these were produced in 1918, and with the addition Iraq and British occupation and values. And they were having values from half Anna till 10 rupee. So these are, we consider the first sets of Iraq is the ones in 1918. The Baghdad were provincials, which were in Baghdad. An example of usage here from the American Consulate Services to send to New Jersey. And the proofs, there is 3 sets of these proofs, extremely difficult. And then they have the word on state service used on the stamp for official usages. This proof, I discovered it. Nobody knew that. Nobody seen a proof for the on state service. This came by chance on eBay from Australia. And then I purchased this, and this is an example of the on state service proof. This bridge is called the Mod Bridge, and it's a pontoon bridge, was used in Iraq at the time to transport people from one side of the river to the other side. It carries about 15 tons of vehicles, and these are, to put a set like this, extremely difficult. The first day of issue of those, I managed to get some covers first day of issue. It was from a city of Amara. It's between Baghdad and Basra, close to Kut. And it was issued on 1st September 1918. This is the highest value, and this is the other value. They only exist one of each, these values, and they were sent to Field Post Office 32, and then they have arrival postmark. And this is all sent to this Lieutenant Combs, Mesopotamia Expeditionary Forces. There was this stamp also. This is the highest stamp of the Ottoman Empire, you know, and this have the picture of the Sultan Muhammad Rashad, and they were going to put Iraq in British occupation, but there was a letter from Secretary Balfour. It would be undesirable to include the 200 piastre stamp, which bears the portrait of the Sultan in the series, and that in view of this fact that this stamp is not really essential for revenue purposes, it would appear politically desirable to omit it from the series. So there were talks about using this stamp, the highest value stamp, to put that as Iraq British occupation was not used. I was in London, you know, and I met this person by chance in Monaco. It's Ambassador Shiv Shankar, and he's a well-known person, and I was talking to him. He said, I do have the actual proclamation of the people of Iraq on the occasion, means we occupied Iraq, and then we are ending the hostility in November 2nd. We are not anymore an occupier. So this is the actual proclamation. And guess what? I saw him in November 2022. I was in London last year, and he had the actual proclamation framed, and he gave it to me as a gift. It is very rare you have somebody like this caliber, you know. It was hung on his wall, and he said that because I do this, this is the area of interest, it's best to be in my collection. So this is the actual proclamation, and it's very interesting to see it, not shown before. There is errors on the sheets. Rao, instead of Q, there is O. And then some of them are used on cover. You can see those. And then they are well known in their positions in the sheet. There is few of them, 4 or 5 on a given sheet with the Rao. Their usage, and on the 1.5 Anna here, on covers are much scarce than what's on the sheet or mint. There is things like the ship shifted up, shifted down. There is this known stamp where the perf was moved. And this one I discovered, the only one known, the occupation is not the letter O, it is C. It's very clear C. Only one known with the C instead of O. There is stamps. Initially, when they produced these stamps, first they did a trial to put red Iraq and British occupation in red. You can see the shadow of the red, and then they didn't like the red. They put the black on it. We counted there is around 20 known copies of those that exist in red and black. Initially, we think there is 2 sheets apparently, but only 20 survived up to now. Initially, I used to have this piece and this piece. And then I tried to match them. They don't match. And then I waited another 15, 20 years, and then I found this piece. And apparently this piece is the match of this piece. And I looked at the record. It said did it in red as well, but I don't think this is any great advantage. Which do you prefer? Personally, I should prefer it to be in black. So I did find the communication that they decided to make this in black. Quite rare these are to find. So every time you find the Triana, you have to check if it is red and black. And if you're lucky, you can find that. I've been looking for them. I haven't seen a used one when looking for it. Major rarity of Iraq here, inverted center. And then there is only 5 copies of the inverted center. This is the most important, probably Iraq stamp. And it was done Marshall Bridge. And we could tell here, the first one known, or they find out, it was done in May 2020. 1920, May, and it is Marshall Bridge. This is the complete cancel. This was discovered about 2 years ago. It was in a big collection. Somebody found it, and it is very beautiful stamp, you know, this Marshall Bridge. So there is 5 copies known of this stamp. The other one is the inverted overprint, the second difficult stamp. You have the inverted overprint. It is also only known use, and there is 4 copies, one in the Royal Collection. This is one of the 4 copies. Other copies, the 2.5 inverted, and for the revenue, there are 3 copies double. I managed to get this in a big collection in Australia, and the auction showed all the stamps and the blocks, and they didn't show this. This was on the back of the book. And then what a surprise, you bring the collection, you buy it, and you find the stamp you're looking for the rest of your life, you find it there. So sometimes surprises happen. One of the rarest covers known for Baghdad. This is a combination between Iraq and Baghdad. There is only one known cover, and these are very rare stamps. This is the tie-etching, the iconic cover with the Iraq and the Baghdad. Okay, they went to the north and they tried to issue, they went to there and then they tried to issue stamps for the north. When they occupied the north was Mosul. And Mosul is a city on the north, as I showed you. There were the French, there is a conflict with the French. They wanted Mosul. And then this communication, they said, we'll take the available Turkish stamps, revenue, and overprint them, postage, India Expeditionary Forces D, and the values. They never put the word Mosul. They never put the word Iraq. This was in 1919, issued these stamps. There were quantities issued of those. Many mint, but few. The use on covers are harder to find. The reason they didn't want to put Mosul because the agreement was to give this to the French. Then the British goes there, and there was a guy by the name of Gulbenkian, and there is a Gulbenkian Foundation if you search for it, Armenian Iraqi, and went to the British, said, I will show you there is a lot of oil here. I show you where is it, but you give me 5%. And they agreed. They signed an agreement with him. They gave him 5%. He showed them the oil wells. Then the British changed their mind. They said, we're not going to give this to the French. and then they did not give Mosul to the French, and it became, later on, they kept it part of Iraq. Mr. Gulbenkian collected the 5% till 1973, where it was nationalized and they took the money from him. So he made 5% from 1919 till 1973. Google the Gulbenkian Foundation. These stamps, there is errors, postage missing, and this is the only strip with the postage missing. And one day I find this sheet, they come in sheet 25, imperf. There is 2 sheets of imperf. This is the only one complete. The other one is broken into 5 pairs. So there is major rarity of the Mosul. There is a double, and the 4 unemitted, there is 1 copy known. And the 4 comes in small and large, and some were used in combination with the Iraq. Much more scarce to find Iraq and Mosul together. This one, the only one with the comma missing here on the 4 ane. The 8 ane known with comma is missing, but the 4 ane, that's the only copy recorded with a certificate. The double is a clear double also. This is the only known block with Bahawalpur with the double. So there were 25 stamps known, the sheet 25, and this is the top block. This is the Tetabech, if you see it. I bought this as a genuine item for Bahawalpur, and then I went to the Royal, and we discovered this is a forgery, and the person who forged it, he did glue this one by one to make sure it looks like one piece. Amazing work, you know. And then we discovered it's forgery. I wrote to the auction house. They gave me my money back, and they let me keep it. So I did keep this. It was forgery known in the books, and now it was known as a genuine. Now it's a forgery. You'll see many of the Mosul covers, they put all the stamps on them and use them. The Mosul is less rare than the Baghdad, and there's a lot of people wanted to buy the Mosul stamp because the Baghdad stamp, they couldn't get them. And there were quantities of those, but the errors are extremely difficult to find. One of the rarest covers, I think, of Mosul is this, which have the Civil Post Office aerial cancel, only known, written in the books, and you can see the Mosul stamp used with the aerial cancel. There's have a Field Post Office 85 on the reverse. The stamps of Turkey, they have the signature of the Sultan here, and there is other stamps of Turkey. They have the signature of the Sultan, but no small sign of the Sultan. As you see, this is the color different from this. Bradbury and Wilkinson, when they did the sheets, they're supposed to do this stamp, which they did. By error, some of the stamp, they use this die, and this doesn't have the small signature. So there is probably a couple of sheets done with the no signature. The blocks of the one with no on-state service, extremely rare to find. So what they did, they didn't use the correct color. They used the same color. They thinking it is the same die, but this die was used. So this is some of the varieties. This is a nice stamp. It went from the American consulate to the Secretary of the State in Washington. And with that stamp, so to find that stamp, I don't know. I have seen 3 or 4 covers with the no signature, and this is one of them. The on-state service, as I said, were used for official purposes. And this is the archive, the 10 rupee, the highest value. And I do have it in my collection also, the archive. It's only known, I guess, in largest multiple, probably. They did have them with watermark. There are 3 stamps with watermark. And the on-state service, they came with watermark and no watermark. I try to use copies here. And time limitations, so we're going to continue. So here, there were the mandate, British mandate, which is proposed at San Remo, Italy, that the mandate that they will assume Class A mandate. What that means, that Iraq will be independent, but there are certain parts of Iraq will be governed by the British. So they got a mandate that the mandate was Syria and Lebanon under the French, Iraq and Jordan and Palestine under the British. And then Iraq, they have a revolt. Then the British wanted to do the Anglo-Iraq Treaty. And then they agreed to bring King Faisal and make him the king of Iraq, because Iraq, they thought they wanted independence. So they agreed that we will bring the king as independent, except we control 2 or 3 ministries by the British. And the story here, this is King Faisal. He was king of Syria, then became king of Iraq. His brother, King Abdullah, which became the king of Jordan. And these are the 2 people governed. So now, king of Jordan, his son Talal, then King Hussein, he died, and then Abdullah II, his son, which is now, and then his son now is also will be after him. These are all they came. Their father was the Sharif of Mecca. The British agreed with him if he will fight the Ottomans and kick them out from these countries, then they will make him a king. And, they did try to give each son part of the land, but they did not give him a full control. So King Faisal became the king of Iraq, and in 1921, and then here, which was he became a king of Iraq in 23rd of August 1921. He died in 8 September 1933. In 1923, they removed this Iraqi British occupation stamps. They issued the set where you have all these different cultural pieces of Iraq or monuments, and up to the 10 rupee, the highest value. These are Indian currencies. And then what happens, for revenue purposes, there is the 50 rupee. That's extremely high value. Difficult. Nobody used 50 rupee at the time, but it only exists on revenue. Now, interesting, these stamps are written on it, postage and revenue, and these were used only for postages. The one which have postage and revenue and overprinted revenue, they were used for revenue purposes. So, for example, this is a proof, never been used, never been issued. So if you see the word revenue, it was used for revenue purposes. All the others, they have stamps which have on-state service for government use, on-state service English and Arabic government use. They came in two different time, 1923 and 1924. And then the first time, 1927, they bring the stamp where they have the picture of the king, and they put only postage. They remove the word revenue. Quite a nice stamp. And they issued this stamp, this is an example of a usage, a block of 4. And the first time we have the king picture, 1927. In 1931, they go up to 25 rupee. This is the one of the well-known block of 4. There is probably 3 or 4 known block of 4. 100 rupee, you can buy a house at the time. Quite difficult to find this. This belongs to Saatchi and Saatchi, mint no hinge block. It's an iconic cover stamp. Also, they come in on state service, the 25 rupee. And, this is the most desirable stamp of Iraq to find the 25 rupee, whether it is the postage or whether they on state service. No one have seen those used on a parcel. It's an example of the usage, and this is this person. It says, rat trap, please let me have soonest offer. Apparently, they have a lot of rats in Iraq, real rats, I guess. Yeah. Here you are. This is interesting usage of the half ana. These are the Indian currency. Then Iraq got more independent from the British, where they signed the League of Nations. And when they did that, they took the Indian currency and they overprint them with the Iraqi currency, which is fils and dinar. And 1 dinar is 1,000 fils, and it's around 11 rupee. And so there is the overprint. Most beautiful set here, because there's a lot of varieties of these overprints. This is the on-state service. This is the regular set. Here is summary of the varieties inverted. These are very rare, to find them in blocks. You'll find them singles. This is the double inverted 5, inverted 8, the rarest inverted 20, only known 20 and 5 on a piece. And this is missing overprint. There is maybe 3 or 4 of those known. These are some of the varieties. Also, this is a constant variety. Is more common is to see the 1 inverted in Arabic. This is the correct one. This is the inverted. There was another error, FLIS, F-L-I-S instead of F-I-L-S. And then the same pair, they have the 5 inverted here. So you can see that. And then the 75 fils also here is correct, and here you see it inverted. So there is varieties of the set to study it. And the overprints is a subject by itself. There is the 40 flis here. That's very rare also. So about a year ago, I managed to find this stamp, and nobody knows where this comes from. And this is interesting because this is 50 and this is 40. And this is only exists on the revenue. So somebody have this stamp. Apparently, they tried to produce this to check the 50 and the 40, and they end up doing the 40. Unique, only time you see it. And then the other one unique, there is 25 here, 25, and here is 20, and here is missing, also in my collection. This is another unique stamp. The half dinar, rare to find it with the missing bar. You see the half, 1/2, there's a bar. There is a missing bar here, missing fracture bar. And on the state service, to find the missing bar, much rarer. I don't know. I've seen 3 or 4 of those in my lifetime with the missing bar. So if you find one with the missing bar, you're lucky. Here is an example of the first day of usage, and this is where the currency was changed. And this is so important, this cover, because nobody knew when the new currency was found. There's a book on currency. They've used my cover here to prove that the currency was changed to the fils and dinar on this date. This is an interesting 2 covers. They have an exhibition. And here the exhibition was in between 30th of April, 1st to 30th of April. And apparently here, the exhibit started earlier from 1st to 30th April 32. It started earlier. So this is in ANA, the Indian currency, and here in the fils currency to find the same logo with the 2 places. Then what they did after this was used for 6 months, then the new issue came with the same stamp, Before we have it in Ana and Rupee, and they have it in dinar and fils. Largest known multiples here, and these are the specimens. The specimens, the horseshoe specimens. And then there is this Kim in 1932. That was the last set to be printed of the king. He died in 1933. There were air letter issued. This is the first air letter in the world. It was designed by a man by the name of Gumbley. That is a different subject. I have a presentation on the first air letter of the world. And I managed to find the unissued proof, which is the 20 fils never issued in orange, and the original design of it, where they have a dummy picture. I do have those. This is the actual ones produced, and the designer was Douglas Gumbley. He signed it by himself. So this actual copy signed by the designer. This is the one was the well-known. There are 3 copies of this. And there is the dummy one, which he designed. There is only 1 copy. They're all in my collection here. And the king apparently, here is an example, 1934. This is his son became a king. And here is a letter from the palace. And 1934, they didn't have the new king stamp, so they used the old king stamp. And here, King Ghazi, the son, and here, by command of His Majesty, I have to thank you for stamps enclosed in your letter. He's sending some stamps to Mr. Clyde Settle in the U.S. So this is the new king, the private secretary, sending this letter. I found this letter. This is the new king, came in 1934. So the first king died at the age of 50, he died. His son became here, and he died at 21 year old. He hit, his car hit a light pole and died, and the light pole hit his head, and we don't know how it was arranged or not. There is only one issue for this king. And then he died in 1939 at the age of 27. So the first one, age 50, is the son, age 27. And then the son came, and the son died at age 23. They killed him in 1958 by a revolution by this man, his name Qasim. He was a general army, a person in the army, and he revolted on the king. And this is the last set of this third king, and he, this picture when he was 4-year-old, and this is, he was engaged, getting married in 1958, and he was assassinated. This is the end of my presentation, and here you are, some of you here. We were in Montevideo, I just put some pictures just to, it's a stressful presentation. I wanted to relax your brain. And thank you so much for listening to me. And this is the end of it.
Thank you, Akthem. Very interesting presentation.
Thank you. And I am open for questions. Anybody have questions?
I see no hands raised right now, but I have a question, in general question. All these overprints obviously were done while the occupation was occurring. Are they known quantities registered, or this is more like experience from the philatelists related to potential quantities, issues, things like that?
This one done by hand, and they were used for 17 days, and the quantities were recorded here.
Oh, okay, perfect.
And then, for example, some of them, the rare one, 65 copies known, that's what they printed, and we don't know how many survived of the 65. This one, 59. I mean, a stamp like this, to just give you an idea, is worth about $20,000 now on the market.
Well,
yeah. And a regular stamp of Baghdad would vary if it's a big quantity, probably about $300-400, the cheapest one, $200 to $300 if it's genuine. So they are quite rare, those. When we go to errors like those, we're talking about $30,000. and more. And if you go to when you go to these sets, you can buy this set. This is known quantities, and they did them in 3 printing. So there is thousands of these produced. Set like this, you can purchase it probably for $100. The
Okay.
quantity is known of those. So it is recorded by brother. I did manage to go to the archive, and I found out the quantity printed and when was shipped to Baghdad from Britain. Remember, this was done in the UK and sent, and those ones were done locally in Baghdad
Yeah.
because they went and find these stamps. And yeah, so that's a quantity known. Every stamp here, quantity is known, correct. And if somebody wants to ask a question in Spanish, it's okay. I mean, you may translate that. That's not a problem.
Sure. Si alguien tiene pregunta en español, háganla nomás, ahí la traducimos.
Okay, very nice presentation.
Thank you.
Can you show the first block that you have that you said that was big complete and they were all symmetrical?
Yes. This
That one. Is it possible that when they print them, there were really like multiple of them in the same die? And like that they're so symmetrical?
Yeah, when I went to see the Royal Collection in London, the King George V collection. This is the private collection of the Queen was, and this is the private collection of the King now. I did find the letter that was sent to the King. And that letter stated that these were done in 4 operations. It says 4 operations. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the question, the 4 operation, whether this operation, the Baghdad, is done in 1 operation and you have 4 of them in 1 operation. The problem with that, I do have some multiple showing in British missing. And here in British not missing, or we see a Baghdad missing here and Baghdad not missing here. So that is also puzzling. I cannot make but for sure there is a ruler here, okay? There is a ruler, and I don't know if there is 4 done together and then 1 together, or it was done initially 1, 1, 1, 1, and then they got tired and then they tried to put them together. Nobody can solve that answer, but there is no blocks of 10. There is 4 blocks of 7 I have in my collection, a block of 10, and then the rest are all blocks of 4. So it is very puzzling, but if you see the distance is equal, you know.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And look at this alignment. I looked at the Baghdad, it's not aligned this way. So I have a block where Baghdad is down and Baghdad is up in the same block. But this is, I do have the other 3 stamps here of this block. So its block of 13 was cut. This came from Jack Lude collection. Jack Lude used to own Cornfile, and nobody knew, and suddenly his collection was sold, and I found it in an envelope with all these large multiple. Nobody knew those until 20 years ago to find these blocks.
Wow. Yeah. Well, thank you.
And you see this crescent, underneath that crescent is for the sake of the martyrs, means people die for the Turkish. So the British, they took a rubber stamp, and they did that also by hand. And if you see those, are different. See those? So for sure, these are done 1 by 1, the rubber stamps. They are different.
That kind of answered my question. I was also thinking probably that will be the 4th or the 5th pass, but
yes,
you're right, that was manual.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is the 5th.
Yeah.
But if you see things like those, I mean, here is not aligned. You see that? But we don't have more of those. And here, this is missing. So if this was done in an operation of 2 or 3, why this is missing or this one missing? The queen have a block of 8, and then one is missing. And
Yeah.
that is puzzling.
Perfect. Mauricio is with his hand raised. Mauricio.
Hi, Akthem. First,
Hi.
I want to congratulate you for this wonderful presentation that you just gave us.
Thank you.
Can you go back to the image of the block again, please?
This one?
Yeah, that one. Yeah. Since they were made like a provisional, or they were made, let's say in the rush of the events, is it known the type of printing press that was used?
Yes. Now, what I think, and I have to study those, I have quantities. I mean, I spend all my life collecting those. Look at this. Is the D broken here?
Yeah.
You see that?
Mm-hmm.
The D is not broken. And this is the D broken.
Mm-hmm.
So this is by chance, this is the same one. Why you have the D broken 3 times here and the D is not broken here? It doesn't, you know, it's just very interesting. Whether this it's a different piece from this, or they come in a 4, one is a broken one. If it is in 4, one is broken, one is not broken, then when you do this, this should be not broken.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so these are the questions. I looked at those and I found out there is more than one type of cancel used for the Baghdad.
Mm-hmm.
So there is the B different in some of them. But I mean, I have to sit when I, you know, I don't know, retire or have time to study the overprints here and see, count how many shapes. I mean, I have to scan them with the new technology, overlap them, and see how many matches or how many types available. I believe strongly there is more than one handprint was used. There's no doubt.
Yeah, because when I saw this and how they were made, this remind me of some of the Honduran provisionals that they were hand pressed in a little, very tiny hand operating printing press,
Yes.
which although the overprint was aligned, it also allowed for some differences depending on the types that were used on each position. Some of them were a little bit broken or not as perfect as the other ones, and you see those errors repeating every now and then. So when I saw this, I'm thinking maybe this was a portable press, a hand operating press that only allows for a small block to be printed at each time. Wonderful piece, by the way. I have another question.
And you know,
Yeah,
just in between
sorry.
your question, there is 14,580 stamps were printed. So you know, to do 14,000 stamps in a couple of days, you need to have more than one press.
Yeah, more than one or more than one set of printing types, because they might get worn out for the usage, for being printed over and over again.
Yes.
Yeah. Another question. On that nice letter that was sent, that the king requested a block of 4 corner. Just as a curiosity, what corner was it sent to the king? Upper, right, left, bottom? Is it known which corner was sent to King George V?
Yes. Let me 1 second. See if I can.
Well, you're getting that. We should definitely.
No, I will
We will be
answer your
hoping to see part 2 and part 3 of this presentation whenever you have a chance. It will be wonderful for us to see it.
Yes, 1 second. I wanted to answer your question. Wow.
Well, it's also interesting the story that the king knew that they were going to issue those stamps. So it seems that, well, we know that King George V was an avid collector, and I'm assuming he was obviously very well informed about everything regarding his army, but especially postal matters. And
Yeah.
he had his people looking for stamps everywhere.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the pictures of the stamps of the king. I have to pay £1,000 to get them at the time. Let's see if I can find them. Because they are, some of them corners, some of them not. Let's see.
Maybe, and actually that's a good indication though, because here the request is, if possible, a corner sample. If there are some that they are no corner, maybe the theory that Mauricio has is valid, that they have to do it in a small press, and that's all what fit there.
Yeah, to answer that question, they are not all in the same corner. Some of them lower corner, some of them upper
Yeah.
corner, some of them came in pair with no corner. So that's the answer to the question. But I wanted to see if I can find it. The archive. This is the LP archive. You want to find something, you can't find it. Documents. Here, British Library. Okay, Royal Collection. Okay, I'm going to show you some of the King collection. Okay, so I'm going to do a new share.
Yeah.
Here. So this is an example of a block of 8 from the Royal Collection. Now, this is a block of 8. If you look at that, interesting. See here, occupation missing. So this is an example. It wasn't a corner. Occupation missing, but here occupation, 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 occupation. And here, both of them missing. You see, missing and missing. So how this happens, both of them missing here. So that's one example. There is another example of a corner. See that upper corner? And then, so that's an upper corner example. And then there is this is stamps. See those? They are not that corner. This stamp, there is only a block in the Queen collection and the British Library. The third block was in Sir Percy collection and was broken into 4 pieces. I managed through my life to find 2 diagonal, this and this. Quite a rare stamp this is, but I managed to find that. So there is no block in existence. There is, let me show you more things from the Royal. Here is, well, this one is a different story. Okay, so there is, let me share this one also. So here, in this case, this is a top block of 4, except they couldn't find a block of 4 to the king here. So they have a corner, pair, and a pair. So not everything is in block of 4. So that is wherever they can find, they can find. And there is another example. It is a top corner. So they tried to have the top corner maybe for him, if possible. And there's another example of the top corner. Remember the Gibson cover? I have one. That is another Gibson first day of issue. The king never collected used stamps, but he did have this cover. Now, just to add to this, there is one more thing. There is some stamps in the Royal Collection that the error we don't have, not recorded. For example, here, the value missing on this stamp. See that? 2 stamps missing on the lower. Again, look at this occupation. Do you see that? It's not aligned. Here, it's not aligned, but here, this is also not aligned with this, and this is not aligned with this. So here, this occupation done separately with this, because if you draw a line, it doesn't match. If you draw a line here, maybe this is also coming down. See,
I draw a line there just to see it better.
Yeah, see that? See that? Yeah. So that is a puzzling part. And look at the Baghdad also. They are different. See this one going this way. And this one straight and this is going the other way. So the operation they're talking about, it is very puzzling here. So I wanted to show you this. And there is one more thing I wanted to share with you. See if I can. Okay, I went to the British Library also. And this is the Imperial War Museum collection was. And here is it. It was also, the Imperial War Museum did have a block of 4 of all of them. And the Imperial War Museum have the block of 4 of all the values, okay? But the king didn't have the blocks of all the values. Some of the values he have, like example, one of those have a pair. So, yeah, so there is.
That's interesting. How come the king didn't got his block?
And the British Library, for example, here, in this example, they didn't have a block of this, but the king have a block of this. The king have a block of this and this. British Library didn't have a block of this. Again, if I learned this, look at that. It's an interesting subject. Look at the Baghdad here. Okay.
Mhm.
You see the D here, and look at the B here, and look at the B here.
Mhm.
And so look at this, is inclined, and this is straight. That
Mhm.
tell me this inclined cannot come from the same one here. So there must be more than one piece to do this. And here, look at this in British. I mean,
Mhm.
I have to sit and study all those piece by piece. You know, it is the most interesting subject. I mean, to get all these scans, you know, wasn't easy. I have to pay the British Library. I have to pay the St. James Palace, you know, so they can make me the scans, you know. And let's see what else I can show you.
Using that was done as a typeset printing, some of it, and other ones could rubber
Mhm.
stamps.
They were all done by hand.
Yeah, but using individual types as like a setting of multiple types.
Yeah.
Yeah, on
Yeah.
Like
on
they
a
did
manual
with the
press.
Spanish postcard
Yeah.
that they set up all of them,
Mhm.
and almost all of them have variation between each other.
That's why it
Multiple
reminded me.
passes. Yeah.
Yeah, that is what I said, that it reminded me of the provisional Honduran of 25. It's
Yes.
a hand printing press where you have the same text repeated many times, but not two are alike because of slight changes in the position. It was a one operation printing. In this case, since you have more text, maybe they didn't have enough types,
Very
individual
interesting.
types to do it at once, so that they had to reuse the letters and then rearrange the printing plate, the manual plate, and that's why you have many errors. That's a possibility, but for that, we would have to know the type of actual machine that was used and see the amount of paper that you could put in it, and that was allowed to be overprinted at once.
In the letter says they use a rubber hand stamp.
Okay. In that case, congratulations to whoever aligned it, because aligning a rubber stamp is quite hard.
I know that was in the letter in the Royal Collection, and I do have a copy of the letter somewhere also.
Yeah.
I mean, it was once of. I mean, remember, this is a private collection of the Queen,
Mhm.
and it is, you know, I have to make an appointment. They have to double check you to go there. So I went there, and then they let me in the vault. It's a vault is about 10 feet by 10 feet, maybe 15 feet by 15 feet. It's all solid steel. And then they have the entire British Commonwealth collection in that vault, and
Mhm.
including inverted Jenny, you name it, what country you want. He corrected the word, you know, the king.
Amazing.
It's only missing one.
Oh, there is, let me, one thing also, look at these. These are the unissued stamps.
Mhm.
And interesting, the unissued stamps, remember there is a set of 8 or 6 left.
Yeah.
This is unissued, and these were unissued. So Sir Percy Cox have a block of 4 in his collection, a block of 4 of this. So he sent the king a pair, and he kept for himself the block of 4. And the block of 4 was sold to Marquis of Bute in 1958. They broke it into 4 pieces. And I do have a picture of the block of 4 before it's broken. And I do have, I managed to get 2 stamps out of the block of 4. And so, I mean, to get 2, it's a lifetime to see those and find them. A friend of mine in London, he have 1 set, and there is a 4th set, is a collector in the US, in fact. But the king didn't have a block of 4 of these, although they unissued. Some of them he have only a pair. They sent him that, and they kept for themselves the block of 4.
Mhm.
And then there is things like those, only the king have this error. So it's written in Stanley Gibbons, there is the error of this stamp, missing occupation, okay? And here I am exhibiting on this subject, and you know, a jury comes and says, well, he doesn't have this missing occupation. Okay, oh, let's take 1 point here. He doesn't have a complete so I mean, there is a problem here, but the reality doesn't exist. I mean, I have to write, maybe I say, you know, the stamp, there is a missing occupation, but it's only in the royal collection, you know, but here you are, the jury have only 5 minutes to do this, and I'm not sure if they will have time to read it also. Yeah.
Likely
Ah.
not.
Yeah.
Akthem, one follow-up. The typeset use seems pretty standard. What about forgeries? Do they abound?
Okay, let me show you forgeries. There is many forgeries,
I can
thousands
imagine.
of forgeries. And because people, they wanted to make a profit, because they were very expensive stamps, and there is no internet, there is no email. So at the time, there were people doing this forgery and trying to sell them. Let me see if I can have a. Okay. 1917. Fake. Yeah. Okay. There is an example of a forgery.
Okay, but it's pretty crude. This one, even, yeah.
Okay, this is crude. There is non-crude. There is a very difficult ones.
I can imagine.
Let me see if I find here less crude. You know, this is an example of less crude. You see that?
Yeah.
And I have find out there was one person by the name of Bern or Bruno. His son is a, and this guy, he used to forge the stamp and sign them on the back. So he forged the stamp and signed them on the back that these are genuine. And I do have a set in my exhibit. One time I showed it. Here is another example of a forgery. And here, look at this cover.
Oh.
There is this cover. See if I can enlarge this. There is this cover here. See that?
Yeah.
That's a forgery. The cancel is a forgery. The overprint is a forgery. And then these are all forgeries. So you buy it, you think it's genuine, but they are all forgery. So there is many hundreds of forgeries. There was a guy by the name of a dealer called Mosdem. Is that Mosdem? He was in Las Vegas, and he had a big collection of the forgeries. He was selling them, and here is another example of a forgery. You see, these covers are in thousands of dollars, you know, and there is.
I can imagine.
Yeah, here is another example. 15th of September, they put it. The cancel is forgery. The stamp, correct. The overprint is a forgery. Even the sensor, this is, maybe it's a genuine sensor, this is, and the genuine registration. And there is another example. So you find those, you think it's a genuine. Now this ink, the genuine one are more bluish in color. And if you see it more black in color, then you know it is a forgery.
It's a giveaway. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's fascinating because just to separate the goods from the bad, and
Mhm.
so many varieties that could be
Of course, at the beginning,
challenging.
there is another example. Here, this is a forgery. This is a forgery. And at the beginning of my life, start collecting those, late 70s, early 80s. I didn't know how to distinguish those, and I did buy stamps. I remember some from, Applebaum or something from
Mhm.
England, and then I spent time studying them and find this forgery, and then I did write to them at the time, and they were gracious to refund me when I find this
Oh,
forgery.
that's good. That's
The only money I
that's
lost on a forgery was one time I bought a pair for 65 pounds from England. But the others, I always managed to get my money back, and I kept the forgeries. Some of the forgeries I did pay 50 pound or 80 pound. They are quite rare. There is, what I show you is forgery, but there is even more forgeries that very difficult to tell.
Mhm.
One time I saw them in one dealer, and I bought them, I paid $30, $40 each, but they are a forgery that you cannot tell unless you magnify it and you see it.
Yeah, the
And
forgeries get better and better. That's for sure.
they put the cancel looks good is September 17. They were using September 17, used only in Baghdad. So they have forged this cancel nicely. So this cancel is forged. The overprint is forged. So they took a Turkish stamp. They forged everything, including the cancel. So somebody managed to make that cancel also to forge it.
Well, they knew what they were doing if they
Mhm.
pick on all those details, including the
Yeah.
date. So they definitely was
Yeah, they were.
way to
It's amazing. And
trick people.
another forgery. I did have in my exhibit 3 pages of forgery. I have an 8-frame Baghdad and Mosul,
Mhm.
unique, you can't duplicate. But the judge, the jury said, because you have 3 pages of forgery, you should take them out. You should not show any forgery. So I did explain how the forgery came and how I wrote an article. What you can do, you can measure the distances,
Yeah.
the size of the letters and the distances. It can tell you if this forgery, not forged. That's one of the ways of telling.
Mhm.
Right.
And the color of the ink, and there was one stamp with a star. And the Royal in London said, this is a forgery star because the color is dark. And then I said, no, it is genuine. And I wrote an article to prove what I did. I took a Turkish stamp with the same star. And then I did an analysis of the ink of the Turkish star and the one they claim is a star that is forged. The stamp with no star worth 1,000 pounds, with the star worth 10,000 pounds. So they said that the stars was added. And then what I did to prove is the correct star, I went and find a Turkish stamp with the original star and compared the ink composition, and I found it's exactly the same. But I have 2 certificates. The Royal, they said, "Oh, send it back. We reconsider it." And then I haven't done that, but I did have another certificate says it's genuine.
Yes. And that's a very good point. Sometimes you have to prove it outside the philatelic field, if you will, like what you have done
Mhm.
to get to the ink composition, the X-Raman, and all those things that are available to a few. That's
Yeah,
challenge.
you have to know your subject, because the people who issue the certificate, they are not the top expert on the
That's
subject.
right.
Mhm.
Well, a certificate is nothing but an opinion in writing, and you could have 10 different opinions, and
Exactly.
that's exactly what it is.
So that is what you have to understand. Sometimes if you get a certificate, that doesn't mean the certificate, it is the
Mhm.
deciding factor.
That's right. It's just one opinion.
Uh,
Perfect. Any other questions or comment for?
David's hand, what's up? Yeah.
Oh,
Thanks.
David.
Hi, Akthem, how are you?
Hi, David. How are you?
Very nice presentation. I like it very much.
Thank you.
Because as you know, I have some British mandate of Palestine mandate.
Yes.
I
Yes.
have a question. In Palestine, you have several types of printings, Jerusalem printing and London
Yes.
printing. Do you
Yes.
have something like this here?
Yeah, I collect only Transjordan.
Yes, but my question is in Iraq, there are printings made in London and made in Iraq or just in Iraq?
No, all the printing of Baghdad was made in Iraq. All the other printing where the Mosul were done in Baghdad. All the Iraq and British occupation and they were made in England. The change of currency in 1932, they took the stamps, which is printed by Bradbury, and they overprint them with the change of currency in Baghdad. So the Baghdad press was used for the 1917 issue only, and for the 1932 issue. So there is no issue like the Palestine ones, which some of them done in Palestine and one done in different, different printing.
Thank you. Very interesting, Akthem.
And I have another topic, Transjordan is much harder, the overprints, and there is so much forgeries. With the Palestine overprints, also the EF, also there is forgeries. I thought to collect that area, but then I think I'm too old to do it now. So the other country which was done handmade is the Arab Kingdom of Syria, and I collect those also. This is King Faisal of Iraq was proclaimed as a king of Syria for 4 months. They took the Turkish stamps and they overprint them. There is about 100 stamps overprinted Arab Kingdom, and there are thousands of forgeries of those. So to find a genuine one, you're lucky. So these were done local. But the Palestinian ones, done different places, yeah.
Thank you, Akthem.
And in Jerusalem, in the press, I remember I have the press also.
Great.
Thank you.
I don't see any other hands out there. So with that, Akthem, thank you for sharing
sorry.
your knowledge on this. This is amazing. It's at least for me, it's brand new. I have seen your exhibit before. I read it twice. I honestly didn't understand it, but now I feel like I can go and find the forgeries easier.
Yes. And I apologize. I mean, it's a long presentation. I hope you not get bored, I just.
That's fantastic. That was great. So thank you for that. And with
Whenever
that,
you want, you show us part 2, part 3.
that's right.
I do have a same presentation on the postal stationery only. I have another one on revenues only. And then I have one on Transjordan from 1410 till 1923. So there is different presentation I have, but I'm happy between time and time, give you one of those.
We appreciate that. And with that, let's el día de mañana.